Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is the ChatGTM with your host, Michael Beck, coming to you live here for somewhere in Tampa, Florida. Joined with me, as almost always, my partner in crime, my boon companion, and road show friend, Mr. Chad Horn. How are you today, Chad?
Doing good.
I got
Glad to be indoors on a freezing day like this. Back
How cold is freezing in Boston?
4 degrees, or at least it was
I,
when I was outside earlier.
I will ask our guests when we bring him out of the green room how cold it is in New Jersey or where he is today. But before we do that, we're going to do a quick introduction as we started to do, as you know, Chad, which is let people know who the heck we're talking to, why they should care about that.
Probably a good idea. Yeah.
I think so. Although I would say that if you don't know who this guest is, you probably been sitting under a rock, or you're new to our industry, or you just don't care and you happen to wake up and tune in a podcast you know nothing about. But for now, we'll say that we're introducing today's guest, which is Mr. Josh Halpern. Gotta get the names right. Builder at the intersection of brand, scale, and culture. As CEO of Big Chicken, Josh has helped turn a celebrity-backed concept into a fast-growing hospitality brand rooted in community, data, and execution. Before that, he led growth and innovation at some of the world's most iconic companies, including Anheuser-Busch. They make a couple of drinks here and there, Clorox, Procter and Gamble, and had some other stops along the way. However, today we're talking about one of the most important shifts facing our industry right now. I'd argue any industry. And if it's a drinking game, we all be all trash the moment we hear this acronym, AI. So AI in hospitality, what actually changes, what it does not, and how leaders can use it to elevate teams, guests, and growth without losing the human touch. So this is Josh Halpern, and this conversation is right on time. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks. When you said we were talking about AI, I thought we were talking about Allen Iverson and his effect on the game of basketball. No,
Oh, and we're dating ourselves there, right?
no, because like Shaq gave me all these talking points before the podcast, and
Oh,
it's. But if you don't want to talk about Iverson, it's fine.
That
you're
might
not
be a
totally
difficult
big guy.
subject for us.
Yeah. I'd rather talk about Barkley or somebody else and make it more contentious.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
AI was AI. He was the original AI.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I first hung out with you, we went to a friend's or colleague's restaurant. And I think that's the moment I really saw what kind of operator you were at heart. You sat down at the table, and our friend and your colleague Sam Stanovich was with us there. And he's like, watch this. Josh can point out anything that needs to happen. I really didn't understand. And then you pop down, you go, yep, they should have had a jug of sangria at our table waiting for us. This. They could have made another 5% on. Like, holy crap, this guy knows what he's talking about and could have
I
improved it
really, I
just in
really
a
don't. I
second.
franked the tank to that moment really hardcore.
What was that?
I franked the tank to that moment pretty hardcore. I'm like, what just happened?
No, I was impressed. I'm like, holy crap, I got to call up Amy and let her know.
Now the bar business I get, from my time at Anheuser-Busch, and, you literally have to go through any experience in the on-premise and say, how can we simultaneously monetize every minute of this experience as the restaurant operator? But also, how can we do it in a way where there's like nothing but joy so that people want to come back? Because how many restaurants have you been to in your life where you're like, yeah, it was good. Oh, are you going to go back? Maybe, you know?
Yeah.
That's not really a, loyalty, right? And I mean, even in our own lives, like I could probably rattle off restaurants that I know you've eaten at where you're like, "Oh, I love that place." "Oh, when was the last time you were back?" "I don't know." You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like little things in these moments where, it makes a big difference. But you and I took some photos that need to be long buried that night too, because they have some really great rituals at the bar you're talking about. But yeah, I completely geek out at bars in particular. I think they're incredible, institutions. And long before social media, the bar was the original social network.
Absolutely. And is that actually how you and John Taffer started working together? Is just this love of bar culture and making things more profitable and tighten it up, but also delivering a great experience?
Yeah, so when I was at Budweiser, it's one of those things that, like, looking back on it was bananas, right? My first day ever in the bar and restaurant business was the day I took over the bar and restaurant business for all of the United States for Anheuser-Busch,
Mm,
right?
wow.
And so I knew like nothing, like
What year is this?
literally nothing. 2013,
Okay.
right? And we had years of decline, and the folks that owned AB InBev they were like, "Hey, man, we just need to think differently. You think differently." I was running global shopper marketing at the time. for them, and they said, "We think you'll like figure it out. The first year will be bumpy as hell, but you'll figure it out." And like when you don't know anything, like you ask really dumb, simple questions because you have to get
Yeah.
people talking. And I would ask like all these bar owners, like, what are the three things that keep you up at night? And I'd sit there with my little moleskin notebook writing it in, and my team would make fun of me for it. And there was even like a betting pool as to when I would be fired. They're like, this guy's not a beer guy. He's not a bar and restaurant guy. This isn't going to work. And I'm writing in my notebook, and we get like 250 people to respond. So 750 answers, right? 250 times three.
Yeah.
There were only five things, right? Like five things were like 98% of the answers, and it was
Yeah.
grow traffic, grow check size, be innovative, have really well trained and engaged staff, and manage commodity costs, right?
Mm.
We're like, look, we're a supplier, so we don't really care about managing commodity costs. We want to increase the price of beer. The other four, like, what do we know? My team's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why would someone go to Beck's bar versus Chad's bar?
Right.
They're like, well, we have $2 pint specials at both bars. Well, yeah, man, that's my point. Why would someone go to Beck's bar versus Chad's bar?
I have shuffleboard.
Right? Yeah, you probably would, but they didn't know, right? How do we get people to spend more in the bar? You get them to
Yeah.
drink more beer. Well, that doesn't really work, right? Like social responsibility and all those things.
Yeah.
What do we know about staff? Nothing, right? So we said, all we're going to do is focus on getting the answers to these four questions right, right? Traffic, check size, innovation, and well-trained staff and engaged staff. We're going to be good to go.
Right.
And around that time, our head of trade marketing for the channel's like, hey, we're starting to do a project with John Taffer. He would probably be very interested in weighing in here.
Mm.
And John and I have had a 12-year friendship ever
Mm.
since. To a point like we're each other's friends on like our personal social media accounts, not just our professional ones. He's
Right.
always asking about my son's hockey, etc. And then when Big Chicken was merged into Craveworthy, John called myself and Sam, who he's known as well, and was like, I would love to bring Taffer's Tavern over to Craveworthy Brands. I would love to be with you guys again at this stage in life. And it's just been amazing. I was just with John in Orlando last week. He's unbelievable. But John taught me how to actually grow bar traffic and not just have the $2 pint special for happy hour in every bar. And I think, the lessons that he and I learned and some of the pilots that we did back then and the learnings we got out of those years still shape some of the decisions that I make on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. I have roots going back to Budweiser in one area. My dad owned a bar in Long Beach, California, on 4th and Grand called the Honey Bucket. And it was a little hole in the wall, did maybe 300 grand, 400 grand a year in a good year. And this was right before chicken wings showed up on the scene. A friend of him showed up from Buffalo, New York with a recipe, said, make these. It was 5 cents a pound trash meat at the time. The sales went up to 1.2 million. They had lines of PG&E trucks lined up the road where the utility workers would come every day and just plow through these rings. So wings. So as a result, on one cheek he had the world on his butt. On the other, he had Budweiser, man, because Budweiser made him a wealthy guy because he sold the most Budweiser in all of Long Beach for quite a while because of those wings.
Amazing.
So yeah. Anyways, so we open a door here, talking about the four things that they'll make a brand popular, a bar popular, and it falls into restaurants too, right? And if we're talking about AI, you and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago thinking about this call, and it sounds like a pretty important subject to you and a really important subject that people would need to be thinking about, which it's not a replacement for smarts and heart,
It can't be.
right? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. What, initially what you approached me about and what your thoughts were there. And let's explore that a little bit.
Yeah, so consider this for a second. When we did the work to understand well-trained and engaged staff,
Yep.
right? That fourth pain point.
Yep.
What we learned was that 97% of bar staff under the age of 40 do not believe they're actually an employee of the bar or restaurant they work for.
Is
Okay.
this the personal brand side of things?
Yeah. Their view in life is I am here as a mercenary for hire
Yep.
to grow my personal brand. I'm in a brand collaboration with your bar and or restaurant. And if I leave Beck's Bar and Grill to go to Chad's Bar and Grill,
Traitor.
90% plus of my regulars are going to follow me because they believe in my brand, not your brand,
Mm.
right? So think about that for a second. Then think about the guest, where the guest in that restaurant or bar is looking for interaction because we don't get a ton of interaction day to day that's non-transactional, where we're tied to your personal enjoyment and entertainment. We really
Right.
don't, right? So when you're in a bar or restaurant and you're talking to that server, that may be the most easygoing conversation of your day, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not tied to work, it's not tied to like a kid outcome or a marital outcome or anything like that. So the guest is looking for emotional currency and the server is looking for emotional currency. And yet, so many of the tasks that we ask the server to do or the restaurant staff to do are not actually tied to that emotional currency,
No.
right? They're tied to things that could be done digitally, right? And a couple weeks ago, because at Big Chicken, we keep saying, how do we drive big fun? How do we drive big fun? How do we
Yep.
drive big fun?
Have
And
you answered that question since we talked last time?
what hit me over the holidays, and it all goes into one continuum here. What hit me was we're asking the wrong question because the question is, hey, trying to use my head, what are the things I can do that can drive big fun inside a restaurant? Right? And I think a lot of people in the restaurant industry do that, right? They say,
Sure.
what in my head will help me
Mm.
drive loyalty? What in my head, what tactics in my head can help me drive menu innovation? Or what in my head could help? What we're not asking is how can I authentically feel these things? Right. And I know that that's weird, right? Like none of us are really like squishy, feely people. But when you look at the chains that get it right, they found the feeling, right?
Sure.
Like take Chick-fil-A, right?
Yep.
Like Chick-fil-A, the thing that they're actually best in class in is the evoking of a feeling more than anything else,
Would you
right?
say that's the gratitude portion?
What's that?
Is that the gratitude that they show in
Yeah,
every
the
communication or
my pleasure and,
yeah.
walking up to you and asking you how your meal's going. They're the only QSR that will
Or
routinely
seeks
walk
you out
up
to
to
give you a
you.
refill of your Coke while you're at your table.
Right. I mean, they are evoking feelings. As
Yeah.
John Taffer calls it, it's reaction management, but the reaction that they're looking for is love,
Mm.
right? In-N-Out Burger evokes a feeling, right? Raising Cane's evokes a feeling. The chains that are Dutch Bros, not the best cup of coffee, but the best feeling that you'll ever feel in the hospitality industry right now in the coffee side.
What's the
And the
feeling they're
king
giving out, Josh? What do people come away from Dutch feeling? Do you know?
Do you come across feeling the sense of belonging that's
Mm.
Mm.
unbelievable, right? The very first time I ever went to a Dutch Brothers, I was like, I feel like I'm part of their community already,
Wow.
right? So if you think about that social currency of feeling a part of something, they nail it. They nail it phenomenally well. And their
Yeah.
coffee is good, right? May not be the best, but it's good. And if I could drink a
Sure.
good cup of coffee, but have the best feeling, it's an unbelievable thing, right?
Yeah.
So where you and I were talking a couple weeks ago, Beck, is I'm thinking about all of this, and I put into Chat GPT because let's face it, right? Even though I like to play the frat boy role and the big energy role, right? Like I'm a
Right.
data geek at heart, and I put in a Chat GPT, if the hospitality industry was a person, what would their Myers Briggs profile be? And what came back was ENFP, right? It would be extroverted, it would be nurturing, it would be feeling, and it would be perceiving. When you think about it, that's hospitality,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then I put in a Chat GPT, what is the hardest Myers Briggs profile for AI to emulate?
Hospi
ENFP,
Now that's funny.
right?
Yeah.
So as we think about AI in
Yep.
this industry, I think we are thinking about it a little off. This is my big provocation, right? I think we need to be saying, how do we use AI robotics, digital tools, fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
How do we use these things to remove all of the tasks from our people, right? That prohibit them from truly exhibiting ENFP behaviors, extrovert, nurturing, feeling, and perceiving with our guests.
Hmm.
And when you think about it, if we can do that, holy crap, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited about the next 10 years of this industry. If you're looking at it as a cost savings, how do I have less people in the restaurant?
Right.
You just
That's different.
eliminated the feeling,
Yeah,
right?
because you're getting rid of the people who would have connected with the people in your stores, right?
Yeah, right? The robot that flips the french fries, amazing. Perfect. Use
Yeah.
those hours to evoke the feeling, right? The
Right.
the hours you get back, right? If you're gonna use AI for forecasting, unbelievable, right? Use the hours it creates to drive a feeling, right? We've got to get to a place where we're driving emotional currency with our guests and with our staff. Sorry, I know it's not much of a conversation. I just went on a bit of a rant, but
I think it's a pretty good conversation to tee off on. Chad, I'm gonna let you get
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
word here because I've been dominating.
No, it's fine. So I made the mistake of kind of going ahead to what I thought you were going to say before, Josh, when you were talking about what creates might create a big fun. I thought you were going to say, "Oh, we." I was trying to think of it in my head. And I realized, oh, I just got to listen to my guests and ask my guests. I thought, oh, he's going to maybe talk about looking at guest feedback and looking at reviews and seeing what actually made people have a great time in Big Chicken.
yeah,
And now, based on what you said, like I'm thinking, AI could do that analysis in a second, right?
yeah.
Just pump all that data in, and it'll tell you this is how to create that feeling in Big Chicken Bite based on the guest
Yeah,
experiences so
and
far.
and there are moments, and they may be random or they may be scripted, but there are moments of beauty, right, in this thing, right? I was at a Huey Magoo's like 2 years ago, and the shift leader randomly comes up and she said, "You ordered the french fries, not the potato chips?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "We make our potato chips in the house. Can I just bring you a couple? I think you'd like them if you tried them." Whoa,
Yeah.
right? I'm whoa, right? Like that's kind of cool,
Yeah,
right?
you already placed your order. There was no dog in the hunt for unless there might be a better margin on those chips. But to
No.
expand your idea of what they do and then your enjoyment.
And now when I'm in the South and I see a Huey Magoo's, I'm
Yeah.
like, want to go back in there, see how they're doing, right? Unfortunately, there's none up by where I live. Like
Mm.
there's moments of beauty, and I could point to them to
Yeah.
all these chains, but it's like we're not codifying it. So you're relying on that server who doesn't necessarily think they're actually your employee to figure out what that feeling looks like, as opposed to saying, like, man, these things felt pretty good. Like, what happens if we do that again?
It feels like there's a couple of things that you're surfacing here. One is hiring the right people for soft skills where they just are kind of wired to engage and are gregarious and outgoing. And it sounds like there's a balance of those people, and then the service tasks that somebody else. I don't know if it's the same people that should be doing those same service tasks. They're going to keep those same moods elevated to be able to engage in a nice way with the guests. What's that balance there, right? Because service tasks aren't going away. AI can only do so much, and I don't think we're going to pay $100,000 a store for a bathroom bot and some other stuff. So some things have to happen by people, right?
No doubt about it. It's
Yeah,
just a question of your mix shift, right?
yeah.
If we could get an extra 8 total labor hours a day focused on guest feeling and away from those tasks, that's a huge win, right? We're too black and white. We would view it too much as, well, robotics would never work because it's not like you could have a robot clean the bathroom. No, of course not, right?
Right,
But
right.
can the robot free up 3, 4, 5 hours of labor task that can then be reinvested back into the guest?
Well, plus your people aren't so stressed. They're doing something else that it's not that menial stuff that may occupy their head. I got to get to this to this. I just have to get to the next guest to increase
Yeah.
their enjoyment, right?
And not for nothing, like in the casual dining chains that are more guest focused, right? Or even like, Beer Park out in Vegas, which is part of our restaurant
Mhm.
group. We have very, very low turnover there, right? Because we're helping the server grow their personal brand to such a large degree. And then they're investing that growth into social currency with the guests, where then they're making great tips, which is great bottom line, right? It's why people are always like, how come Twin Peaks and some of those types of chains have low turnover rates. Well, they're focused on brand building at the server level. And then that's
Right.
translating into guest relations, right? We've got to spend more of our effort there. If they're spending all of their time on menial tasks, they're not viewing the world as I'm growing my personal brand. They're viewing the world as I'm making 15 bucks an hour and I will until I can make 16 bucks an hour somewhere else. And that's not culture.
No.
So, Josh, you have a very big variable to consider with AI and the guest feeling and hospitality that other brands don't with Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
Because while your people are going to provide a human experience in some ways that are going to add to that guest experience, people have an experience and a feeling around Shaq. And you with the kiosk and everything else you're doing, you are giving people an experience of him. And
correct.
AI can scale him in a way that other brands might not benefit from. So I'm curious how you're thinking about managing those aspects.
I love the question. It's such a dual-edged sword, quite honestly, because on the one hand, I would love nothing more than for 100% of guests to feel like they directly interface with Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. On the other hand, right, the technology's not there, and it's amazing. Like I've had
This is our first
12,
conversation, actually.
I've had 12 or 13 different companies say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I could totally do that."
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, what is this? And they're like, well, if you close your eyes and listen really carefully, you could almost think that it's Shaquille O'Neal talking to you.
How bad is it though? I mean, you've had these samples. Like, what's good sound like? I mean, you know the guy, so it's hard,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, good would be you walk out of the interaction thinking you talked to him, right? Like I could be there and be like, "Hi, welcome to Big Chicken. I'm Shaquille O'Neal." People would be like, "No, you're not." One of them was like that, right? Like one of them was literally like that bad. You know,
Oh my god.
yeah, I had another one that was like, yeah, we were able to use like 5 hours of YouTube clips to help
Yes.
create this. And the syntax was, like, very, very off, right? It was like a weird scripting. It was in his tone, but it was like, not really, right? It's
Janky.
hard to do. The tech isn't there quite yet. It's even
Yeah.
like when you're on, like, Waze, right? Where they have the celebrity people on Waze. You're like,
I have
"Dude,
Samuel
I need you to
Jackson.
say anything else." Like, there was a Lightning McQueen one where it was like, "Make a left turn, cha-ching," or whatever, "kapow." And you're like, "That's fun." And then, like, 10 seconds later, it's like, "Make a left turn, kapow." And
And
you're
you're like,
like,
shut
"Not
up.
again." Like, "Shut up, man." Like, "I don't even think you're really Lightning McQueen. What are you doing?" Right? So you have to have this it needs to feel like you actually spoke to him, and it's
Yeah.
not there quite yet, right?
Mm.
And even if it is there, he's going to provide this sort of peremptory feeling in the beginning of the experience, but like, how are you going to bring it all the way down? You're not going to have like a 7 foot shack bot going through the restaurant collecting dishes. You're not.
Right.
So, I mean, that's one data piece. Shaquille would be the first person to say he views his business like a basketball team. He plays the role of center, but there's got to be a starting five. So, what is
Yep.
the other four positions in this experience where it
Mm,
makes sense?
mm. So with that, thinking about that though, right? With AI and freeing up your team to be more guest facing, what are the things that you're thinking about or looking at in the crave worthy brands or Big Chicken that you're looking at? This is where I can tweak this stuff, where you can kind of put this into practice.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it starts with what feelings naturally exist here,
Mm.
right? Not what feeling do I want to force, not what feeling do I think, right? Like what feeling naturally exists here. Uh,
Right.
I know if it's your first time in a Big Chicken or not by looking at you, because the people that come in the first time, their eyes are wide, they're looking all around, they're taking selfies with the Shack jerseys,
Yep.
they're there for him the first time. Shaquille's the best trial mechanism on earth. He's not a repeat mechanism. No
You
one's
better
gonna
have good
say,
food after that, right?
yeah, no one's gonna say the service sucked, the food was bad, but I love
Right.
Shaq so much I'll be back tomorrow, you know? So how do we get that same level of feeling on the second visit, the third visit,
Yeah.
the fourth visit? We're identifying that now, you know? in our Fresh Brothers pizza brand, and Greg and I just had this conversation the other day. Like, pizza is really about bonding.
Mhm.
Most people don't order a pie for themselves, you know?
No.
And if you are like, I let someone know and so that they come over and because you need like a hug, right? Most people are doing it because they're either experiencing a dinner with their family or they're
Yeah.
out with their friends watching a game or something. How do you really steer into those occasions so that people are like, yeah, this is the pizza for when I am hanging out with either my
Yeah.
family or my friends. For Gregory's coffee, it's that emotional feeling of like when you think about it, if you pick up coffee on the way to work the way I do every morning, that's probably your first interaction with a non-family person of your day.
Yeah.
Think about the awesomeness of that responsibility, right? Like either going to start their day off right or wrong based on that interaction. What's
You
the
can set
feeling you
that
want them
tone.
to leave with, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you start from a feeling based perspective, you end up in a very different place than if you're just going with the I need this cappuccino out in 2 minutes 23 seconds or less or else
Yeah.
we're going to be angry. Well, no. We've all had that experience where it's 7 minutes but they're treating you like gold and you don't care. Right, and we've
You
had
get a
the
lot of
experience
grace
where
with
you're
that.
out in 2 minutes, 23 seconds, and you're like, "I hate that place." Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the lasting memories, and Chad has the same memory too. The first time we went to Big Chicken was your location in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you probably know who I'm gonna talk about next. It's
Yeah,
a
I
young
mean,
man
there's a couple people in that store, but I'm
yeah.
guessing you're either
But
gonna talk
but
about Kimmy or Trisha.
yeah, Kimian's the one that gave us the big welcome. I mean, his energy was authentic. He was really interested in us having a good time. They remembered us on the second time we came back, each one of us. And he's got a real joy for the game.
Yeah,
You can tell he loves what he does, and as a result, we love watching him do it. Right? Walt Disney said it right. Do your job so well that people will bring their friends to see you do it.
yeah. I
Right?
mean, you need to have hospitality in your heart, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so how do you screen for that when you're training your leaders and people to look for those right skills, the questions to ask, not the basic boilerplate stuff? How do you ferret that out?
I mean, this is where the tools are getting better, and we're not great at it yet, right? We're
Right?
trying to get better at it. I mean, I do know that someone like Kimian is way better for our culture than someone who's the opposite of Kimian. And we have a few examples of people like Kimian in our system that are amazing, right?
Yeah.
Um, I was just talking to like Rachel Nemeth from Opus the other day, and she said a lot of clients right now of theirs are starting to look at what are those attributes? What are the questions you can ask, someone that, in a multiple choice way that helps you get to a quantitative decision making process. You put that right into Opus, you could send the quiz to every one of
Hmm.
your candidates.
Hmm.
That's interesting to me.
Yes.
We're just not there yet, but it's somewhere where I would love us to be by the end of the year because if I know these are the things that are going to make it, right? Like I need people that are willing to actively recommend to the guest, and I need people that smile and make eye contact at the guest, and I need outgoing, bubbly social people, and I need people that are knowledgeable about the menu up and down and every which way, and I need people da 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 da.
Yeah.
I can screen that. And if I know, it's a Six Sigma process, and I'm a Six Sigma junkie, I'm a Six Sigma green belt. Like I said, and I don't come across as one, but I am a data geek, right? And Six Sigma, the whole thing is how do you reduce defects in your process? And most people don't try, and there's zero Sigma, right? If
Hmm.
you're a Three Sigma, you're 90% successful, give or take. If we could be 90% successful in our hires, think about how that changes your culture. Think about how that changes your brand,
Your
right?
turnover rate, all that.
Yeah. And people will say, well, what if we do all this and we get one bad apple in the bunch? Well, you're gonna, right? But if you get it right 9 out of 10 times, isn't that better than not doing anything and getting it right 3 out of 10 times?
Yeah.
You know, Josh, you guys have been part of Craveworthy now for a little while. What have in that time? What have you gotten from like a playbook, best practices, ideas from the rest of the group, and what have you given back to them, and that has changed their overall family
Yeah,
brand?
it's a good question. I'd rather not answer it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think in terms of what I've learned from Craveworthy, look, I didn't grow up in restaurant operations, right? Like I understand the business and strategy of restaurants. I can't go in and micro pick things operationally. the way Greg and the Craveworthy operations leadership team can. I mean, they literally can look at a kitchen and be like, "There's 2 extra steps there. That spatula's a foot hanging a foot too high, right? That's gonna upset the folks for this reason and that reason." They're really, really good at running well-operated restaurants with a well-engaged culture inside the restaurant, which is great, right? In terms of what I bring, I think is a little bit more of how do we lift up just a little bit more? How do we drive that feeling? How do we drive a growth mindset into the organization? I lead most of the functions that are outside of the four walls of a restaurant for Craveworthy and get to be Greg's sort of offensive coordinator in doing it. And we are very much built as a defensive team. To me, operations is defense. The growth side of the ball is offense. Uh, that's what I bring into Craveworthy, I think, is a little bit more of that offense. And since I've come on, we've closed a couple M&A deals and we've started franchising a couple more brands, which set the table for a really good 2026, 2027, and beyond.
Um, when we talked to Greg at the RLC conference last year, is my first time actually sitting down with him. It sounds like he's kind of a no bones, just get right to it sort of guy, very direct. And he was direct about certain technologies that were out in the marketplace. Like, yeah, that stuff's not ready. We're not touching it yet. He also said a pretty big number when it comes to the amount of solutions that are running in stores. I can't. What do you say, Chad? Like something like 80 pieces of software. Was that the number?
No, I think this one was like 18 to 24, somewhere in that
Those
Are
are
you,
range.
very
I thought,
different.
yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
no, but I thought it was like a very large, much larger number. But I mean,
Depends
at
on what
some
you're
point,
counting.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking everything that you're paying a subscription or service for that comes in the building, and I'm guarantee it's more than 20,
Well, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it feels though that like a lot of brands are coming up on pressure with this AI wave coming. They're like, well, we got a back office already. We have this already. We have that already. And now here's AI knocking at the door. What are the things you guys are looking to let in the door first?
Yeah, mostly our friends and neighbors.
Ooh, good answer.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the wrong way to look at tech, right? It cannot like take your tool chest at home, right? You probably have tools at home. And yet I'm willing to bet that you use like 2 screwdrivers and a hammer, and that's like 90% of your tool usage, even though you have more than that in your toolbox at home,
100%. You're right
right?
on. Yep.
And the tools that are the remaining 10% are the ones that you bought for a very specialized reason where you said, "I need this tool for this." Like, try putting together a piece of IKEA furniture without an Allen wrench and let me know how your life goes.
I actually Googled rage return once when I destroyed a piece of IKEA furniture with a claw hammer when I couldn't get it done.
I believe it, but
They
you have
didn't take it
Allen
back.
wrenches in your home solely for IKEA furniture,
I have
right?
hundreds of them,
The
and they're
reason
all
why I
IKEAs.
bring it up is on all of this,
Yeah.
too many people are like, "You know what? I just need more tools. Hey, this one's shiny new tool. I'll put this." You can't look at this stuff like that. You'll get paralyzed really fast. Every
Yeah.
tool in your toolbox needs to fit a role and it needs to be able to do tasks that help you drive your business forward. It's why people have said to me, well, we thought you'd be a lot further along with AI by now because of Shack.
Right.
There's not the right tool to drive Shack yet. And when
Right.
there is, it will be in my stores, right? Now AI based forecasting, yeah, I could probably do that right now,
Yep.
right? It's pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah.
good, right? So the every tool makes sense for you. The other thing, and I've given talks on this in the industry too. Like, I'm a bad handyman. I'm not very handy. I could change a light bulb. I may be able to hang a picture, probably not straight, but I could get it hung on the wall.
Right.
Right? Like, you could give me the best tools on earth, and it doesn't change the fact that I am not a good handyman. Uh, the restaurant industry, we're not great at tech. We're not. You and
Yeah.
I were at NRF last year. We talked about it. 32 aisles of retail tech, 4 of restaurant tech,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So the notion of like, if you build it, they will come. Like, let's just do tech stuff to show that we can do tech stuff doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
We need to be optimizing tech to the best of our ability with the strengths that we got.
The funny thing that occurred to me too is that Allen wrench that's sitting in our tool chest isn't promising us back 3% to our bottom line on every tool that's in our box, right? Like, if all these tools delivered what they said, they'd be cutting us checks.
If all these tools delivered what they said, you wouldn't have restaurant chains going out of business.
Yeah,
You'd have really good same store sales. You'd have really good prime costs. Life would be easy.
yeah,
And that doesn't mean that they can't deliver the cost, the savings, but they have to be operated the right way in order
yeah,
to drive the savings.
yeah. Well, hey, we're gonna land the plane here in a minute, so to speak, but I got a couple of questions, and then I'm gonna close with a rapid fire. I've been lining these up lately. It seems a little bit fun, but before that, give me your opinion. If this is too contentious, just say, hey, you can say pass.
If we're starting this way, it's probably too
Oh, it's
contentious.
very
But go
contentious.
ahead, kind
All
sir.
right, I telegraph my punches. Is Trade shows seem to be a subject on everybody's mind right now, and a big conversation point of the ones they're going to do, the ones they're not going to do. And the reason they're not going to do it is cost, and the costs keep continuing to rise. And I don't want to name names because I care about all these shows in one way or another. But what's your opinion on the current route that these shows are at, expecting vendors to pay the kind of dough they're looking for, and then for those vendors to expect the same ROI?
Yeah. I'm gonna answer the question in a different way so I
I
could play the politician. Well, he answered it, but not
I
really.
I, I love it.
Um, the best trade show of the year to me is IFMA COEX.
Ooh,
Probably not even on anyone's radar. And what I love
nope.
about IFMA COEX is you go in and for half a day, you get all these trends and insights about the industry. And then the second half of day one, you sit at an operator table and 400 manufacturers are able to come and sit at your table in speed dating sessions. And you can form quick relationships that then translate into, yeah, no, call me Tuesday and pitch me because I actually want to buy your breadcrumb or your seafood or whatever. And then the next day, for half a day, the manufacturers sit at the table and I can walk up to their tables. So if I'm in the market for, I don't know, a ketchup or something, and there's,
Sure.
the ketchup guy didn't sit at my table, I could go sit at the ketchup guy's table the next day. Right. And you walk out of there, there's yet to be a year where I don't walk out of there with 4 to 6 projects or things that we're going to look at because it's really a working show. And
Wow.
nobody harasses each other before the show. And after the show, the only people you hear from are the ones that like legitimately you said, all right, so you're going to reach out to me, 2 days after. Yeah,
Right.
let's make sure we do this. Right. That's amazing. I think one of the broken things about the trade show is the environment right now is the list gets sold and as a result, I normally get hit in before a trade show with anywhere between 300 and 500 emails, phone calls, and LinkedIn messages. And then you get operators saying, I don't want to put myself through that anymore. This is the 2 things I want to go handle. So
Right.
maybe I won't go this year. I'll just figure out how to handle these 2 things. I'll call my friends, Michael Beck, Chad Horn. They can introduce me to these people, etc. Then
Yeah.
the tech provider is like, well, these restaurant guys are no longer there. I don't know if I want to go anymore. Right. And now all of a sudden you end up in this kerfuffle that results in the conversation you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we could get back to a place where it's like really about working in the show and we can get back to a place where like people, like operators are treated as people before the show, you know, like
Yeah.
you're not sending me like a cold call email from a bot. Right.
Ugh, yeah.
I once met with someone, and 20 minutes after I met with them, I got a cold call email from the bot saying, hey, I missed you today. Would we be able to meet tomorrow? And I'm like, holy shit, man.
You didn't even turn the dogs off.
Right. I flipped it to the guy. I'm like, hey, man, you may want to go get looked at because you got some dementia or something. We met 20 minutes ago.
Jeez.
Guy's like, I'm
Wow.
mortified right now. Right.
Wow.
Most people wouldn't care enough to flip them the email, right? So we got to get back to a place, just going back to this feeling,
It's the same
right?
thing. Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
If you want trade shows to be valuable, you need to walk out of there with the feeling that this was worth my time and that I made connections and I helped my company and
Mm,
in both directions, vendor and supplier.
yeah.
Because when those things happen, it's never a question anymore, right? I
Yeah.
will never challenge IFMA COEX on my list because I know I'm going to walk out of there with major connections and major next steps, and it's the best use of my time because in 2 days, I'm gonna have one-on-one meetings with over 50 manufacturers.
Is that a membership-based show, or can anybody attend that?
You have to be a member if you're a supplier. If you're an operator, you can actually, it's like free or next to free for membership. It's not gonna keep you out of wanting to be a part of the show.
I think we did that dinner in Chicago 2 years ago. That's the IFMA show that we went to, right? Or dinner? The
Yeah,
gala?
well,
The
there's the
Golden
gold and silver
Plate?
plate dinner,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
IFMA and is the best working show in the industry. It's in March.
Wow. Okay. Well, I might have
Awesome.
to sneak in. All right, so let's land the plane, but I got a couple of questions in line with the subject we have today. And you can say pass, but none of this should be too difficult. You ready? We got
Pass.
6 of them. All right. You can't pass right out of the gate.
Okay.
All right. One place AI should absolutely help hospitality right now.
Forecasting.
Beautiful. One place AI should stay out of hospitality, at least for now.
Service.
Okay. The biggest myth leaders believe about AI in guest experience.
That it will cut costs while satisfying the guest.
Good. All right. The most human moment in hospitality that technology can never replace.
The person handing a kid a cookie.
Ooh, ooh, I like that. One habit operators should build today to be ready for an AI enabled future.
I think we talked about it. It's isolating the notion of what drives feeling versus what drives thought.
Smart. All right. Finish the sentence. Great hospitality in the age of AI is really about blank.
Continuing to recognize we are the original social network.
Well done. Well done. I love it. I mean, I say it a lot. I think I said it to Chad a couple of times. I definitely say it to a lot of our clients is that before all this fancy stuff, we still serve drinks and food. This is all stuff that we added on to this to help us with the thing we've always originally done. I think going back to the basics too is a big part of this.
Big time. Let's face it, no matter what, in the next 10 years, 100 years, fill in the blank,
Yeah.
there will likely never be anything that drives restaurant sales more than the simple question, would you like fries with that?
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
As
Yeah.
long as our people are selling to the guest in a way that makes the guest feel warm and fuzzy and loved, we're in good shape. And
Yeah.
we can do some of it on our end by, like, for instance, at Twin Peaks, right?
Mhm.
Like, they call their 2 beer sizes, girl size and man size, right? And I mean, it's built for the server to be able to upsell the beer. But
Sure.
more importantly, we could be teaching those servers what are the hacks that they can use to help drive their personal brands in a way that also help us drive our P&L and really build that social currency. That social currency is vital.
I think I'd like to have you come back on and talk about personal brands next because that is such a new, unique topic that has really been evolving over the last 4 or 5 years, more than ever. I think, right? These personal brands, people carry it with them. I'll take my community with me. I mean, it's always kind of like that in bars. Like your
Yeah,
bartender was the guy or the gal, right?
it's funny. One of my good friends does a lot of like intergenerational research, right?
Mhm.
And the interesting thing that he says is like if you're under the age of 30, you only notice diversity when it's absent. Okay.
Yeah,
Because diversity was never really a thing, right? In the
right,
last 10 years, it was like we've always been multicultural. We've always been gender diverse and background diverse and everything else. You
right.
only notice it when it's like all middle-aged white guys where you're like, huh, this feels off, right? Same's true with personal branding, right? It is a very weird context for people if you're over the age of 35, right? Like 5 years ago, I had it beaten into me, and it was like, you don't understand, you're a brand. Like I actually have like brand principles as to what the Josh Halpern brand means
Oh,
now,
wow.
right? But for most people, they don't understand that. Right. Like, because that wasn't the way we were raised. So
Yeah.
our resumes are written differently. Our
No,
LinkedIn
we used to work
profiles.
for people. Now we work with them.
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
you're 30 today, it's like, what do you mean? Why are we talking about personal brands? Of course I'm a personal brand. Of course I'm my own brand. What are you
yeah.
talking about? Like, why do we need to talk about this on a podcast? This is all I've ever known. Right? I wanna
Wow.
I wanna understand why you think you belong to a company, right? It's just a
Wow.
different way of seeing the world.
Absolutely. Hey, last question, just like a PS on this, because it came up this morning. You know, we had Jim Knight on as a guest recently. He released a new book recently. I sent you over a review I did for him, and it turns out that you're a friend of his and you wrote a forward in his book,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
he's the best. Jim Knight is, if you ever want to understand how to drive feeling in the restaurant industry and you need to like talk to someone,
Yeah.
talk to Jim Knight. I saw Jim Knight speak for the first time in 2015 or 2016 when I was in the Anheuser-Busch role. And he talked about how, like, at Hard Rock, he viewed it all as like the band U2, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
he's talked about how, like, you put up the band U2, and it's like, who's that guy? And everyone's like, Bono, right?
Right.
Who's that guy? And like 90% are like Edge. And you're like, who are these other two guys? And the
No
whole room starts
clue.
laughing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like how U2 is basically like the four of them literally share every dollar and everything. And there's no, among the four of them, there's no status or ego.
Right.
It's we live and die by the four of us, right? And he's like, now think about your business, right? Like every business has Bonos, Edges, Adams, and Larrys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and they know that they're Bonos and Edges and Adams and Larrys, but does your business know that the four of them need to play as one band?
Mm,
Bono knows he can only be Bono because he trusts that Adam and Larry will do the exact things they need to do on bass and drums, right?
yeah.
So you could be the crazy front man, the way I am or Greg or whoever,
Yeah.
but you better recognize the fact that behind you are the people keeping that beat, making sure you're able to be that front man. And they're no more important than you, and you're no more important than them. We're one
Yeah.
big band. And that's a hospitality lesson that's always stuck with me big time. That and the fact that at Hard Rock, they always, the front of house people got to dress in all these elaborate costumes and be like
Yeah.
kind of badasses. Back of house people were like in chef's jackets and stuff and would hate. There was this tension between front of house and back of house. So they ran
Right.
like a TV commercial where they were like, Hard Rock Cafe, where our chefs are our rock stars. And it changed the culture, right? So I think when it comes to evoking your feeling and making sure that people's personal brands are able to grow, and at the same time, ops are done the right way. Jim Knight is the master, and it meant so much to me when he asked me to write a little blurb for the front of his book.
Yeah. Well, it feels like we have a panel coming up now with what you're talking about and Jim understanding, be able to understand the feelies on the side of it. This could be something that's brewing here
Uh,
that I'm going to
let me know when I'll be
encourage.
there.
All right, we'll make it happen. And
Yeah,
for some reason, my brain latched onto the fact that you two is really people just talking about a band going, you two guys, Edge and Bono. I know who the rest of them are.
yeah.
So on that cringy note, I think we're going to wrap up.
Nothing
So
better than wrapping up on a cringy note. So thanks,
that's
bud.
how I do it all day, Josh. So, Josh, thank you as always for one, just being my friend, and coming on here and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you to our audience for spending the time with us today. And for now, the Chat GTM podcast episode, season 2 episode. We're not sure when it drops. It'll be in there. But for now,
Or
thank you
five.
guys. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.